After having seen the philosophy of Bergson, one of the philosopher of evolution, we are considering another evolutionary philosopher. He is also from France. The name is Teilhard de Chardin. So the pronunciation is different from the way it is written, as we normally are tempted to pronounce. Is not Teilhard, but Teilhard de Chardin. So we are seeing his philosophy. So he was born in France. Something specifically to be mentioned, he joined the Jesuits. He was a Jesuit priest, and he died also as a Jesuit priest. And Bergson lived just before Teilhard. Naturally, being a French person who lived and professed a philosophy just immediately before him, Teilhard read all his works. And besides, Teilhard was interested in science as well. Therefore, all these factors contributed his becoming a fervent evolutionist. His scientific leaning and his reading of Bergson and also the original one, Darwin, that made him to be a fervent evolutionist. But then there was a lot of opposition. He was a priest, a religious priest. Naturally, the theory of evolution at that period of time in the church was not accepted as true, because church thought it is going against the teaching of the Bible. Bible teaches God as the creator, and in a particular way it is explained the creative act of God. If the human beings are evolving from the other creatures, or the whole living beings are in the process of evolution, what about the hand of God? Therefore, anybody who professed evolution was condemned. So when Teilhard also proposed the theory of evolution, he was also misunderstood. His books were not allowed to be published, because the books of religious people can be published only with the permission of the hierarchy. So he was not given the permission. Only posthumously, that means after his death, his books were published, and then only he came to be known what was the truth of his philosophy. And he wanted to show that there is no conflict between taking God as the creator and accepting the theory of evolution. He was a believer in God, a strong believer. At the same time, he was also a strong believer in evolution. Both, they are not opposed to each other. That is what he wanted to show, and he showed it. He spent much of his life in China, and he also came to India, that means where ancient civilizations were present. He went there for what? As a paleontologist. Paleontology is this a science of studying the prehistorical life through the study of fossils. Fossils are what is left over from the old. Fossils can be bones, can be the logs of wood. It is got decayed and gone, something is left. People make a study on that one. Based on the indications given in the fossils, they are able to have an understanding what type of life people were living at that period. So the paleontology is a science by itself, but their area of specialization is the prehistoric life through the study of fossils and the traces of animals and plant life. And so he made expeditions to other countries where the civilization was more ancient than in Europe, because people started living Europe much later, in India, in China, in Africa, especially in Egypt. These are the main, and also in the Middle East, Mesopotamia, and so on. So these are the four important centers of civilization. Unfortunately, nothing is made mention of Africa, but I am sure there must have been life also. I mean, Africa, Egypt is mentioned, but other areas is nothing is documented. But we had the documentation, therefore India also is mentioned. So he came to especially India and China to study about the prehistoric life through the study of the fossils. He has written so many books. Some of the things I have mentioned here: the phenomenon of man, the divine milieu, the future of man, etc. And as I already told, his works were only posthumously published. Posthumous. Post means after. Humus means dust, earth. That means the literal meaning is after death. But the etymological meaning is after one is gone to the mud or under the mud. The literal meaning. Humus means earth or mud. So posthumously. And when they were published, they realized that he was misunderstood. Then his thoughts became clear, because other one, by hearing the term evolution, they jumped into the judgment that his books cannot be published. So that was a little, what is called, the judgment was too hasty a judgment at that time. When the books were published and they became known, when his works were published, his ideas began to be accepted with great enthusiasm. Because then we know what he has said, not merely evolution, but he is also finding a place, not a place, very prominent place for God in the theory of evolution. That nobody had the patience to understand. He was not given a hearing, but then he is, in spite of that one, he continues to be alive with this thought. We are not going to a very elaborate consideration of his philosophy. There is only one simple thought, we are referring to that one. So before we come to the theory of evolution, which is the main part of his philosophy, just an introductory thought that the relation between science, philosophy and theology. Science, philosophy and theology. So he shows one cannot be opposed to the other one. That is what he wanted to say. Actually, in the East, there is no opposition. Indian thought, there is no Indian theology and philosophy. Indian thought, that is science. There is Ayurveda is there. What is called about the science of stars, that also is there. There is philosophy is there. There is theology is there. They are not separate disciplines in the East, because it is holistic. That is, we have seen elsewhere as well. But in the in the West, they are separate. Science is another one section, philosophy is another section, theology is a third section. But they are understood, they are not totally different. There is a very close relation. It doesn't want to say identical as we do in India, but then there is a close relation between the three. So they are not confined to three realms. One is dealing with this realm, other one is dealing with some other realm. But then what does he say? They are complementary to each other. Complementary. That means one complements the other one. Science is complementing philosophy. Philosophy is complementing theology, and vice versa. So one completes the other one. One is understood better in the light of the other one. Science is more analytical, concentrating more on the multiplicity. So some distinction can be made. What the three approaches, although the three are related, closely related, at the same time, three approaches are there. The science is more analytical and focusing on multiplicity. That is typical Western approach. We focus on a point after point, or point as different from another point. We are going on multiplying, dividing, dissecting reality. We said about how the Western type of medicine, it is focusing on part by part, multiplicity, division. That is the Western approach, scientific approach. Analytical and focusing on multiplicity. Philosophy is more synthetical, seeing reality as a whole, and it is, instead of multiplicity, it focuses on the totality. Totality, reality as a whole. Holistic approach. In Bergson, something of that is there. How philosophy has to be intuitive rather than intellectual, because intellect and science takes the approach of analytical approach, dissecting reality, and we cut into pieces. But philosophy has to be holistic and synthetical, seeing reality as a whole, and they look at the reality in its totality. But then coming to theology. Theology focuses itself on the unity as different from multiplicity, totality. Theology is focusing more on and unity. I cannot find a corresponding term here. It is only a gradual building up towards unity. So analytical, synthetical, maybe there is no term. I couldn't get another term to explain that one. Theia does not use, but I am just giving by way of clarifying. Anyhow, therefore, these are only three ways of looking at the same reality. That is all. And since reality is evolving to a greater unity, ultimately to God, the source of all unity, a scientist is a philosopher and theologian, and provided he remains open to the synoptic view of reality culminating in God. That is his thought. We are going to see that one. According to him, the whole reality is unified in God ultimately. Therefore, even if we are, as a scientist, I am concerned about the multiplicity of things. I am not doing another reality. Gradually, I am moving towards more of a totality of things, and then eventually to the unity of things, that is on God. So, therefore, we are not three, cannot be, all the three are not compartmentalized, but rather complementing. So, gradually building up towards the unity of everything, that is God. So if you remain open to the reality as gradually evolving from multiplicity to totality to unity, then we are in the same journey. We are in that journey of passing through the different stages of life, the different stages of understanding. So we are not another department, another section. We are in the same process. Whether we are, so one cannot be a theologian if one is not a philosopher and scientist. And one cannot be a true scientist unless he is a true philosopher and theologian, and vice versa. Therefore, all the three of them are complementary, and they are speaking about the same reality, only different emphasis and approach. That only makes the difference between them. So that is with regard to the distinction, the so-called distinction between science, philosophy, and theology. As I already told, which is non-existent in Indian thought. A learned person is a realized person. A learned person is not someone who is gone to the university and one who was. A learned person is a realized person. What kind of realization? God realization. Therefore, that is the reason why Indian philosophy is Indian theology. And Indian theology or Indian philosophy is Indian science. Everything is included in the whole holistic approach. That is a beautiful approach. Slowly the West is realizing the mistake of having too much emphasis on the separation between even in the reality and even in the approach, philosophy and theology. After having said that one, we go to the central point in his thought, namely the theory of evolution. Teilhard's theory of evolution, we will see that is different from Darwin's theory and Berson's theory. He has got a different theory. The main difference is Teilhard's theory of evolution is teleological. Teleological means there is a goal. Everything is evolving towards a goal. What does the meaning goal? An end. So that is one of the important divisions or distinctions between Teilhard's philosophy of evolution and others, especially of Darwin. Darwin and even Bergson does not explicitly speak about a goal, but Teilhard is speaking about is teleological. There is a telos, that means end is there. To the end, everything is moving. According to him, the Darwinian evolution is mechanistic, materialistic, and unguided, without any goal. It is simply evolving, that is all. Darwin speaks. Teilhard believes that evolution has meaning and it is guided by an end. What I already said. It is finalistic and teleological. For Teilhard, evolution is all-embracing. Another difference in Teilhard's theory of evolution is it is all-embracing. Very important distinction between from the other two. For Darwin, evolution is limited only to the living beings. Living beings, how it is one from lower to the higher, it is moving. Only living beings. But for Teilhard, the whole cosmos is included in the evolution. The whole cosmos, where there are purely material things are there, the lower types of living things like this is one called plants, plant realm, and then animals, and then all the humans. The whole thing is included in the evolutionary process. That is something very typical of Teilhard's evolution. It is all embracing, including the material things as well as the animal, the plant and the animal realm and the human realm. Everything is in the process of evolution. It is all embracing or cosmic, whatever be the term that we use. For Teilhard, evolution is all embracing, including the most primitive forms of matter to the human race as it exists in the present and as it develops beyond the present. He believed that the universe is an evolution, and evolution proceeds with the movement of the spirit. Now we are anticipating, but then I think maybe good. So now we are going to see more clearly. So it embraces everything, the pure matter, the other living things, and human material. Everything is included, but they are not. We are going to see the different stages, but they are not separate. Something is unifying everything. So that is the spirit. He used the expression, a kind of spirit is the movement of the spirit. The evolution is the movement of the spirit from the lowest material thing to the highest form of human being. There is some kind of a link. That is the meaning. It is evolution. That is the big difference between Darwin and philosophers. Darwin was a scientist. He is only trying to scientifically to explain how this movement, how this jump takes place from one to the other. That is all. The other one is a philosophical thinking. Even person, the whole thing is a movement. And that movement is, what is the linking element in person? It is elan vital, life impulse. Life impulse is from the lower form of life to the highest form of life. There is something, it's a stream of life. But in the case of Teilhard, not only living beings are included, even the non-living beings are included in this one. That means even material things are also part of this evolution. Everything is linked by a spirit, the movement of the spirit. The term spirit in the Teilhard's vision refers to the principle of union. So that which unites the whole cosmos is the spirit. It is the power of synthesis and sublimation of the multiple. The process of unification is also called spiritualization. So since the spirit is the one, the spirit is evolving or unifying one with the other one, everything is linked, or the thread that is linking every form of non-living as well as living beings. It is also the whole process of evolution, or is called also either unification or spiritualization. Spiritualization, why the term spiritualization? Because the whole link is, the spirit is simply moving. Not bringing any Holy Spirit or anything. It is simply some power, something that is linking the whole cosmos. That is, therefore, the movement of the spirit is referred to as spiritualization or unification. In fact, things are becoming more and more in the process of evolution. Unification, the process of unification is taking place, and ultimately culminating in the highest point of unity, that is God. So it is like a pyramid. He's explaining the whole evolutionary process as a pyramid, from the multiplicity slowly becoming totality, and then slowly becoming more and more unified, and then culminating in the highest form of unity, that is God. So, and then the whole process of that movement is linked by it is the power of the process of spirit. As we already said, the evolution for him embraces the whole cosmic, the whole of reality. Therefore, he gives three terms. It is only for sake of clarification. He speaks about three spheres. That is what is called a geosphere, biosphere, and noosphere. the sphere of matter, the lowest one. Then biosphere, the sphere of life. All with the life began, starting with the lowest form of amoeba, or even what is called plant realm. And then comes the new sphere, the sphere of consciousness. The human comes here. So he refers to the three spheres. They are not, it is only just for the sake of clarification, he uses the three terms: geosphere, biosphere, and new sphere. So becoming more and more complex as well as unified. The development we can find, there is something why a particular animal is called more evolved. Yeah, it has higher form of evolution because we find it is more complex. And the most complex, at the same time most unified, is human being. Very complex, the human brain, and every aspect of human life, it is marvelous. Computer is nothing, only human brains have built the computer. So it is so complex, at the same time so well synchronized and unified. So we can find the greater and greater complexity and unity in the higher and higher forms of evolution. So the first one, as we said, is what is called geosphere, and then life comes in, life as we understand. But there's a movement is there even in the non-living things. Life comes in, that is in the lower form, it evolves and becomes more complex, and then it became consciousness. So consciousness comes only in the geosphere. Only humans have our consciousness, not only life, we are conscious and self-conscious as well. But in the case of Bergson, consciousness is the term that is used for the life, matter and consciousness. It is not simply by mistake I use the expression, that distinction, matter and consciousness. Even the lowest form of life, there is a consciousness. So life and consciousness is synonymous for Bergson. But then that consciousness or life grows, reaching a climax in the present situation. That is the climax. In the human being, consciousness becomes self-conscious, and least the most away from the material. So there is a distance from the material is more clearly had in the self-conscious human being. So here consciousness is used only with regard to the new sphere. The other one, everything is spirit, but then second comes life, and then in addition to being alive, there is also consciousness in the new sphere. So when he speaks about some little explanation I have given with regard to each one, when you speak about the geosphere, the sphere of matter, it is not simply matter becoming spirit. So it has matter is a moving matter. It is not a dead matter. That is why it is included in the evolution. Matter is not simply a dead matter, but rather moving, evolving. Therefore, use the expression matter becoming spirit. Not matter and spirit are not placed side by side. Matter and spirit go together. Spirit is dynamism. Spirit is movement. So the matter is not along with the spirit, rather matter becoming. That matter becoming aspect of matter is same as the spirit, because spirit stands for the movement. So therefore it is not, when he speaks about the geosphere, he is not speaking merely about the simple dead matter, but live matter. Matter with the spirit, matter and spirit. Therefore, he speaks of a universe inhabited by us humans that have evolved from an original spiritual or mind-endowed stuff. So even in the matter, there is some sort of a life is there, some sort of a movement is there. The development of this mind-endowed stuff gradually leads to the emergence of unfolding of the biogenesis or biosphere. So slowly, in the geosphere, it is not simply matter, but matter in spirit, or maybe matter in spirit, matter in moving. That gradually gives rise to the life as we understand it, to biosphere, living. Living, of course, started with the lowest one, the plant realm, and then slowly it grows a bit more complex. It is a long evolutionary process which first starts with the simplest living cells and develops into the highly complexified nervous system like that of the higher animal species, that is especially in the human. So simple cell, it becomes more complex. At the same time, they are not simply separate. Complex and unity. Complexity and unity go together. That is why the evolutionary process goes with the complexity and unity. The next phase of evolution is noosphere. Noosphere is that process gives rise to a noosphere, and because of this, that everything is moving, he uses the expression not simply geosphere or biosphere or noosphere. Sphere means it has got a tone of sphere, a particular realm, that he uses the expression new genesis, biogenesis. Genesis means becoming life, becoming conscious, becoming matter. So the becoming, that that dynamic aspect, to emphasize the dynamic aspect, he uses the expression not simply geosphere, biosphere, noosphere, but rather as genesis, new genesis, or biogenesis, and so on, to emphasize the aspect of movement. And finally, in the human, it has become self-conscious. Consciousness has become self-conscious. It is the ability to think and reflect on who they are, where they come from, and what that makes the humans unique and superior to the rest of the animal species. So we are not only one of the animal species, we are able to think and reflect on ourselves, self-conscious. Think about what it means to be. What is the meaning of life? Where are we coming from? Where are we moving? Meaning of life. Only humans can think. So when we are not thinking, then we are lowering ourselves to the animal realm. We are less like any other animal. Therefore, the development or the evolutionary development of humans, we can claim, we can be proud of only insofar as we are also really self-conscious. I think for myself, about myself, what it means for me to be. That makes the humans superior from the rest of the living beings. They are envisions that there is an evolution beyond the actual stage of human beings, which leads to the organization of human persons in one human family, which is known as socialization. Now, just here we are referring to, we said it is moving, and then is come to the self-conscious. That is not just stopped there, we became humans. No, that is also new genesis. So it is still moving. So spiritualization, the movement in the new sphere, is in the form of socialization. The movement is taking place, And that movement expresses the spiritualization becomes a socialization. Socialization not in the ordinary sense of just saying hello and all those things. It is much more than that one. The relationship as one human family, that is emphasized. Socialization. Thus, evolution does not stop with human as we are today. We are still moving. Darwin held that that humans are the culmination, but according to him, according to Teilhard, it continues through the thinking layer of man. Even Bergson also, he does not say very explicitly it stops, but then he has given an opening. Opening in the case of memory, I said about that one, a new understanding of immortality is referred to when he speaks about that is a self-extension of the human. We are able to extend ourselves, and that is so that way there is a reference to a kind of meaning of immortality in Bergson. But here the human being is still growing. The process of the consciousness is still growing. He presents man as moving towards a hyper person or super humanity, which is not the same as an individual person becoming a superman, but mankind becoming a super mankind. So I repeat, the humanity is moving to a super humanity, not a hyper person, not an individual becoming a super human being, but rather the humanity is moving towards a hyper humanity or a super humanity. What is the criterion? Becoming super mankind or humanity? Community and universal love. The two characterization of socialization is community and universal love. Insofar as we are growing in our life of community, socialization, and then universal love, extending the love to everything, there we are growing. So that process is called socialization. So the humanity is moving to a higher humanity, super humanity or hyper humanity, not an individual becoming a superhuman being, but rather the humanity is growing, and that growth is referred to in terms of the specification or what is evident from the way we are able to live together in community and universal love. So that is the way the present human race is growing. Socialization produces a hyper humanity with a higher level of cultural consciousness. A super humanity. Humanity is growing. And in what sense it is a hyper humanity? Insofar as it is what is called, we are able to enlarge, extend ourselves to the whole humans and even non-humans. He has not gone into the spirituality, but then there is a implied spirituality, a Franciscan spirituality is there, embracing the whole human race and non-human race. And there we are growing. We are not becoming primitive. We are becoming more human, and that is we are spiritualizing and we are socializing. That growth is the way Teilhard presents the process of evolution in the different stages, and there he presents them as evolving. Therefore, a new sphere is not new sphere, it is new genesis. I stop here.